Hello, my name is Kelly Lemon and I'm a property investor and I'm passionate about building an asset base. I've done it for myself and I now help people use their money, invest in property and generate an income from it. Now, one of the reasons I'm recording this video is because I've just finished a blog about kindness and the way that you can achieve kindness for yourself being through clarity. And that's really what this video is about. How do you get clear and why is it so important to get clear? Now I want to start with a bit of a parable. It's one that you may have heard before, and it's about the person that's kind of chopping down the logs, and they chop away and they chop away and they sort of do 10 logs on the first day, 8 logs on the next day, 6 logs on the next day, and they just keep chopping and chopping away. But actually they're getting less and less as they do it. You know, their saw is getting blunter and blunter as you go along. Now, quite often people say they don't have the time to step back and sharpen the saw. And I think it was Covey that first talked about that kind of concept, that actually sometimes the best thing you can do is take a step out, sharpen the saw, and then you are so much more effective as you go forwards. And that's really what clarity is. Clarity is stepping back and being really aware of what you're doing, why you're doing it, and are you doing it in the best, most efficient way. And I recently went through an exercise with a colleague as he was asking me some fairly basic questions about some of the next steps I had. I was a bit sort of torn in terms of, am I doing this, am I doing that, how do I execute it? And some of my answers were a bit woolly. And I realised then that actually what I needed to do is sit down and kind of really go through a clarity session and get really strategic in terms of my next steps, especially kind of as we go into goal setting season. And that's exactly what we did. We jumped on a Zoom call, spent a process, went through a bunch of questions, figured out what are the next things that I want to achieve, why do I want to achieve them, and then what's the steps that I need to take to get there. And it made me realise how often do we do this? Yes, December, January, very common years that we look back, quite often our birthdays, but how often are we regularly stepping back and going, actually, am I clear on what I want to do? And there's two real reasons for doing this. One is a lot of people set goals, or maybe they don't. Maybe people set goals on their behalf and they end up sort of chasing and climbing the ladder, metaphorically, so to speak, and they get to the end of their life and they go, actually, was that ladder on the right wall? Because quite often the goals that we wanted when we were younger, the things that we thought we wanted when we were younger, aren't necessarily the things we want as we get older. And especially if somebody else has guided or sort of perhaps influenced what those goals are. So one of the reasons it's so important to get clear is because what you want to figure out in the first instance is my ladder leaning against the right wall? And if so, is it a ladder that I'm prepared to climb? And is it going to get me to where I want it to get to? So that's kind of the first thing that's really important. And the other reason it's really important is because does the ladder fit with your lifestyle? So when I had this conversation a couple of weeks ago and I was looking in terms of clarity, I started with lifestyle and goals came second, because luckily for me, I'm in a situation where I've gone through this exercise multiple times. And when I've gone through this exercise, I've planned out what it is that I wanted. And actually what I wanted is to have a certain type of lifestyle, to have that freedom, that flexibility. So now when I look at what I want to achieve in the next couple of months, in the next year, in the next 5, 10 years, and all of those sorts of things, it's within the lifestyle goes first. Because again, one day you're going to look back and go, did I have my ladder against the right wall? And if not, why not? Now for me, that wall is very, very closely aligned to lifestyle. It's very, very important, the lifestyle I have. It's very important with my young family, that I have a lot of time, flexibility and freedom. That's what's important to me. So there's no point putting my ladder against a wall that actually is not in alignment with that. So that's why it's so important to really get clear and check if your ladder's on the right wall. And the second reason it's really important, the reason I say that clarity is kindness, is because when you're being clear is one of the best gifts that you can have. I always think whenever I talk to people, whenever I work with people, and by the way, this is not a business skill or a property skill, this is a life skill. When you are clear, it gives the illusion of control. And I do mean illusion because quite often there is no such thing as you can be in control of things. But when you feel clear and you have a clear plan or a clear to-do list or a clear strategy, quite often you feel in control. And that's what clarity can do for you. And like I say, quite often I work with people and they just can't quite figure it out. So they carry on, and then they lose a lot of time and energy. So getting clear, the second reason it's so useful is because when you do get clear, you can look at the map and you can go, is the route that I'm taking actually still the right route, especially as things change? So you change, things change, the world changes, politics, the economic environment changes. So when you get clear, you step back and go, well, okay, great, this is where I want to go, fine, but is this route still the right route? And when you step back and look at that, then you can go, well, actually, this is the best route for me. And then you can start mapping the milestones along that route and you can get really clear. And then you've got a plan. And life is as simple as making a plan and executing on that plan. Now, executing on that plan may be a different video for a different time because quite often people have challenges with that. But making the plan is quite simple, but you can only make a plan when you're super clear on what it is you want to achieve and why you want to achieve it. So I always say clarity is kindness. And the reason I'm recording this video is because I did this exercise a couple of weeks ago with somebody and I just felt so much better after it. And I thought, I didn't realise I wasn't clear on a few things. In fact, the only reason I realised is because I was asked a few questions that I didn't know the answer to, or I didn't have a strong answer, or I didn't know why I was answering the way I was answering. So that's kind of what led me into that exercise, and now I offer that for other people. So if you are stuck, if you are unclear, if you don't know what you don't know, but you want to move from here to movement, to actually moving forward and making progress towards your goals, especially when it relates to property, then I would absolutely recommend booking a call with me because that is something I'm really good at. I'm a former journalist by trade. I know how to get to the crux of issues, and more importantly, I've got the experience to know, okay, these are some of the routes that you can take. And if you're going to take these routes, these are some of the milestones and this is what's involved in the journey. So this video is all about getting clear, being kind to yourself and getting clear on what you want, why you want, and then you can figure out how to get there. And like I say, the two main reasons for this when you're getting clear is, am I pursuing the right thing? Is that still what I want? And if so, why? Is it in alignment with my lifestyle? Do I want to go and invest in property, but actually, my lifestyle, I want to be doing this? Do the two align? And if not, how can you marinate? How can you make those two work together? Or do they not? And those are all questions that going through that process you can figure out. And the second reason it's so important is because if you don't know where you're going, you don't know how to get there. And you also don't know, if you don't keep relooking at the map, it's a bit like in a car. Quite often, my car will reroute me. It will say, we're going to save 2 minutes off or 5 minutes off your route here because we found an alternative. It's always looking. It's always looking at your destination compared to where you are and going, is this the right route? And that's really what we should be doing, particularly as we kind of get to this time of year and we look back and we look forward. So I would say clarity is kindness, and it's a skill in all areas, but it's a life skill. Everybody likes clarity. Everybody responds well to clarity. And it's a gift that you can give yourself through very little time. And like I say, if that's something you want to do with me, that's fine, reach out. But whatever, do it for yourself. Absolutely. Like I say, clarity is kindness. Anyway, my name is Kelly Lemon. I hope you got a lot from this video, and I hope it's given you a few ideas and tools as to how you can go and implement them. And I will hope to see you on the next video.